Meow. Happy Halloween, everybody. It is Friday morning, Live Impact News here. Happy Friday to you at 9 o'clock. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, so you can only guess what I'm going to be.
Kitty cat.
Kitty cat. Thank you, Carlene. And what is Carlene? You can only guess. Curly fries.
Happy Halloween.
Carlene, man, you really go all out, don't you? It's so great.
I love it.
How long did it take you to make curly fries?
Only a week. This
Only
was only a week.
Okay.
And I say only a week because I've had other builds that have taken me probably near a month.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You really get into it.
get into
This is your holiday, or one of
My
them.
holiday. I love being crafty.
Look at that.
You know,
I love
I
it.
dumpster dive for all of these curly fries.
Do they still taste good? Are they seasoned?
You know, they
Look
came
at-
from the dumpster, so I'm not going
Right.
to eat them. So they're there for show.
Do a little catwalk. Meow. A little catwalk for the kitty cat. Ta-da!
Happy Halloween.
Now the challenge is, though, Carlene, is sitting.
sit.
You can't sit. So you're not going to wear this throughout the show.
Okay, so I'm going to be
Can't
in
do
and
it.
out of this because I cannot sit because I don't think things through. I do this myself every year. I make something, I'm like, I'll do it for scale. and
It's
then
great.
I'm like, oh, wait.
Right.
I sit for most of my job.
There's Chris. He's dressed festively somewhat. He's in the orange and green.
Yeah, I got the orange. I did what
He
I
did.
could.
He did the monster mash.
Yeah. No, I was dancing with monsters, hanging out with Helen. So.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now I want to look at. This is Carloween. This is some of her costumes. When she says she goes big,
Okay.
she goes fire
I
big.
remember that one.
Remember that? That was my first one here, and then this was the next.
This is the
year.
ne-
I was
wow.
McDonald's fries.
Nice.
That was pandemic
Wow.
time.
Okay.
I was a 7-Eleven Slurpee.
Love it. That's
Love
great.
That one. And then Colonel
Oh.
Sanders and a bucket of chicken.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and then I was a Happy
The
Meal.
Happy Meal.
That one is probably the toughest to walk around.
Yeah, and it was. I drive a small car, so getting a
The
big,
challenge?
but that's a round small car. So getting a box into a round small car,
Right.
not great.
But at least
I do it.
the curly fries, they can curl
They can curl.
under.
I made it work.
into the box.
It's collapsible.
I mean,
Well, that's good.
okay,
I
good.
learned. I learned
Creative,
from last year. You can't.
crafty.
You gotta be able to fit it in the bug.
I have to say though, the Arby's logo is like super accurate.
Yeah.
Ew.
How did you work that
I
through?
created this.
Wow,
Yeah.
Carlene, ever the artist.
Thank you.
Yeah, we were seeing from this shot when we were in the studio, and I looked down and I was like, dang.
Look at
Did you print
Carlene.
that?
No.
Yeah, but I'm looking at that.
That's
no,
good.
that's
I
really
freehanded
good.
that. Thank you. Thank
That
you.
is
It's one
really
of my,
good.
One of my select crafts is I can do fast food logos.
You got it.
It's
You got it
extremely
going on.
niche,
Thank
but it's
you.
nice to have.
Ah.
That's, you know, I have to say, like that's not just an hour thing. That's some
This is
time.
a
No,
week.
a week.
Yeah, a week. Yeah,
A week
on
long.
and off. I can see that.
This is
Do you have a favorite?
the fries. McDonald's fries was my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
That one was the one that took me like a month.
Oh my
It
goodness.
took a long time, and it was
Yeah.
heavy as sin. I don't know.
Oh.
You know.
That was
I
a
learned
lot.
a lot from that craft. So how
Okay.
to make things a little more
Efficient and lighter,
efficient.
right?
But it was the best.
And where are these costumes now? Are they in costume
Costume
repurpose heaven?
Yeah.
Oh,
AKA
yeah,
the
they
TK
can't.
dump. Yes.
Nobody has enough storage for giant
No.
costumes like that.
No, now I have a garage. I have storage, but my past apartments I didn't have it. So it's like,
Oh,
I'd love
right.
to hold on to them, but where
I don't know
am
where.
gonna-
Yeah, but if it's collapsible.
This one's collapsible, so I can keep it. And I have a garage.
Awesome.
Which is where
Okay.
these things
Yeah.
need
Yes.
to go after this.
No.
So I can't-
Well done.
Thank
really
you.
solid, yeah.
Bravo.
Seriously.
Bravo.
Thank you.
And where did the idea of fast food tributes came from?
You
Yeah.
know, I don't know. I think the first one I did was the Taco Bell one, and because I lived right near a Taco Bell and I was eating it far too much, and so I was like, well, might as well,
You
do
know,
all
you're
what
young
you
and
eat.
enjoy YOLO.
And then people really liked it, so I was like, you know what? I always wanted to be McDonald's fries. I was like in the back of my head, so I was like, I'm just gonna keep with this shtick, and here I am.
Here you are. It's a good tradition. Carloween.
Oh, that's amazing.
Carloween 2026.
Wow. But Carlene and I started around the same time, and one of our first conversations I think was about like volcano tacos from Taco
Yes.
Bell. Yeah.
Oh,
so,
nice.
And how we Taco Bell, if you're listening, bring them back.
We're also Cheeto fans too.
Oh, you big Cheeto
are you
fans, yeah.
Ooh, can you make some fire Cheetos next
would
year?
love to do it.
Let's just request Carlene
Yeah,
to
please
make
make requests.
costumes.
Hey,
By,
requests.
by the
I'll take
way,
requests.
I only saw an advertisement for it. Did you know there's a movie? I think it's called Flaming Hot. It's about
Yes.
yeah.
Eva Longoria produced it.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I created. I still need to watch that.
I
Oh,
need
it's
to see.
it's really good.
You seen it?
Yes,
Oh yeah.
it
look-
is good. And knowing that it came from a real person's story, and he came up from the ranks and
him.
yeah, invented the fire Cheeto or what
Something
is the
that
flaming hot
so many
Cheetos.
Flamin' Hot
Love.
Cheeto.
Yeah,
Love,
which
love,
so many
love.
people love.
My favorite is actually the jalapeno Cheeto. The
Yeah,
less
they're
liked
good.
of those. They're very
Oh,
solid.
that is my favorite too.
Do you?
I
Yeah.
do love those. Yes.
And I will say, and people don't know about this, but we have a little snack area. I personally asked the snack man if he had any jalapenos, so that's the reason why
Oh.
they got there. So the expanded
He
Cheeto
takes
section.
requests?
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
Did-
if you see
do we
him.
have
Some
them?
requests.
Huh? Yeah, we have them.
Oh,
Yeah, to the
I
far
did not
right.
know.
This
It
does
has
not
been a
help anyone
while.
watching, but just letting you
Yeah.
know we love our snacks, so
Oh
now
my
you know.
gosh.
Oh, I should make a point to say this is not sponsored by Arby's.
Oh.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
it's not sponsored.
Right.
yeah.
Right. Right.
But Mr. or Mrs. Arby's, if you're interested,
Yeah. Like
me
Curly
Mom.
fries.
no, but seriously, like if on social media, like Arby should say, "All right, well done, well done." Yeah, no,
Yeah.
one more time.
Seriously.
even if you just liked it,
Yeah.
I would be floored.
It really.
Well, a real in-person like, a real thumbs up is what we do.
Give it two. Got 2 thumbs up. Siskel and Ebert.
Yep. And how long did the cat ears take to make?
This is a Carlene special as well.
Oh, very
Yes.
nice, very nice.
Yes.
Meow.
I've
Meow.
given out. I don't know if you'd be surprised to know I have a big costume kind of box at home.
Oh, yeah,
and I
yeah.
have costume headbands and stuff here, just
Just in case.
And I've given out quite a few to other people this year.
Oh,
I
that's
think I've given out
awesome.
5 or 6 items to other people
Oh.
this year for their costumes.
Yeah,
Wow.
no.
Yeah.
One
well,
of our
you have the
producers.
crown.
Yeah.
You have a
I
crown
have a
right
crown.
there.
Oh yeah, here's a crown.
You want to be?
Heck yeah, I do.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
This,
Oh my.
this is my
Aw.
Stunning.
Hee. Yeah, no, this is good.
You're
This is
right there.
this is good stuff. Which is a great weekend to go to that, by the way. But of course, we got to talk about Halloween. By the way, this orange tie might not seem like much, but for over 10 years, I've worn this on Halloween. So this is my go-to Halloween
It's the
tie.
Mulcahy tradition.
Yeah, Mulcahy tradition. Not as cool as fast food or anything
Halloween.
like that. It's not really special, but I just wanted to say something about costumes. But anyways, Halloween forecast is beautiful. Wall-to-wall sunshine, no big deals. Temperatures are going to drop pretty quickly, though, as we typically expect. So for parents planning on what the kids should wear when trick-or-treating starts, and I know it can start as early as 5 o'clock. A lot of times 6 to 8 is the sweet spot. Temperatures are going to begin in the lower 60s, and they're going to drop down into the lower 50s by about 8 p.m. So just kind of plan accordingly, and then we'll be down in the 40s, and then before you know it, by tomorrow morning, we're actually down into the 30s. But since it is the last day of October, let's do some October stats. Nothing really stands out too much. 85 degrees is the top, 42 the bottom. That's the only one that really stands out because actually, even though our normal is typically in the 40s, I have seen only 30 times since 1878 that we haven't dropped down below 40 degrees during the month of October. It usually happens at least once, so this was number 30. So that's the one that kind of stands out. Everything else really not too much. But the rain that we saw on Monday was over an inch of rain. It was kind of crazy. That was actually 53%, so more than half the rain that we had for the entirety of the month. And that's another stat that really stood out to me is during this time frame from the 26th to the 29th, we had over 2 inches of rain. Well, in October 1st to the 25th, the first 25 days, we only had 0.07. So that's why we were so drought stricken. Things weren't really looking too good. Things definitely heading in a better direction. But that's actually the 5th wettest end to October on records, believe it or not. October fairly is a drier month, so that doesn't really surprise me that stood out, even though it's a low amount of rain, considering some totals could be up to 7 during August. And our sky cams are beautiful wherever you look. Mr. Sparky Carolina Camera Network doing justice. Carolina Blues across Charlotte, Dallas, Monroe, over to Lake Norman. Looking good, my friends. So rejoice and happy Halloween. Our temperatures are back to the 50-degree point in the upper 40s, and we're going to warm up in a hurry. Yesterday we hit 64. Since we're starting off a little bit chillier, I only have a high about 63 for today, but it's overall going to be a good one. But here's something new. The Frost Freeze program is in place for the beginning and end of growing season. It is not really until either we have our first big freeze, or I think it's November 10th is the date they have. Might be even November 11th. It's at that point that we're still going to have frost advisories, freeze watches, and warnings, just letting us know, hey, we have any delicate plants. If you want to protect them, this is how you can increase longevity. So protect those plants. This is our first chance for a little bit of frost, and our lows dropping down into the 30s. I have a low of 38 degrees for Charlotte, 35 around Hickory, and first-time comers for the 32-degree point. I wouldn't be surprised if Lincolnton's going to do that. I think you'd probably see a freezing temperature around Morganton. That area right now is under a freeze watch, but I think that likely will be upgraded to a freeze warning a little bit later on. Our 70 forecast brought to you by the Jerry Hunt Super Center. Not much really happening this week, and that's what you like to see. We do have a slight chance for rain on Sunday night heading into Monday. And Monday, an on and off shower is going to be a possibility, but I really like where temperatures are headed. They're actually zooming back to about 70 degrees. Our new average is 68, so that's really nice to see. So it's going to be a nice little warm-up, something to look forward to the middle of next week. As far as those rain chances, here's kind of an idea of what that looks like. Your rain chances are barely anything. I think you're dry for the entirety of your Sunday, but those clouds start to move in Saturday night to Sunday. I think we have some sunshine mixed in after that, and then you can see a second coming of clouds with a slight chance for rain. This looks to be fairly weak. We're still on the drier end with this system, so I just want to temper expectations, not really looking at anything super widespread that is associated with this. So good news there. Heading into the weekend, a little bit more detail. It's also on November 1st and 2nd, Dia de los Muertos. One of my favorite things to do is Camp North End has a wonderful festival there. It has amazing music, amazing food. We brought JT there the last couple of years, and it really is eye-opening. So if you are interested in doing this or you don't know much about this, I highly recommend this.
Great.
The movie Coco really opened people's
Yes.
eyes, and it's one of the Kim and I, my wife, were talking about this. Coco is probably our new favorite Disney movie.
Oh, it's a good one.
Because the story is incredible. And it's also something that truly teaches you about this culture that I wish I was a part of. But that's the coolest thing about this festival. Even if this isn't your culture, they invite it and you get to celebrate with them. So highly recommend that. Great for the kids as well. That's always a wonderful time. But the thing that's not great, that a lot of us are not looking forward to, is daylight saving time coming to an end. So, I know I've been mentioning this. It's obvious. Some people say, yeah, you just go back an hour, but sometimes you really have to look at it. Because on Saturday, our sunset time is 6:28. Of course, we're just subtracting 1, but 5:27.
Boo.
That's a huge deal. You were mentioning this, Jane. Likely at that point, you're going to be driving in the dark when
Yeah.
you leave work. So 5:27, keep that in mind, and go down to about 5:10ish for the second week of December. So, yep,
boy.
no, we're heading that direction. I love the fall, but it's at this point there's
Right.
a big fallout for many things, such as adjusted sunset time and chillier highs and lows going forward.
We pay a price for it all.
Hey,
so
hey, yeah, of
it's
course.
okay. We have our ears on. We got our crown.
Yep, royalty here.
Royalty.
Weather royalty.
Yes, he is Mr. Mulcahy of the Queen City and of the Live Impact Studio, Morning Weather. Thank you so much. And I
course.
love Dia de los Muertos. It's a great way to celebrate. So good reminder there. A lot to do this weekend. And glad to hear that the weather's cooperating.
Oh, amazing.
All right. More festivities this weekend coming up with costumes, decor, music. It's a beautiful night at Opera Carolina. More on that with our special guests after the break. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Wow, we have such an exciting weekend. Not only is it Halloween and Dia de los Muertos, but it is a gala night preview for Opera Carolina. Who knew we had such a wonderful, sophisticated, gorgeous scene as far as opera and the arts here at the Belk Theater? Joining us this morning right now are Dr. Shante, General Director of Opera Carolina, and soprano Kristen Sampson, who will be performing tomorrow night. Buongiorno. Bellas. Buongiorno, buongiorno. I love it. I love everything Italian. You know that. Dr. Shante knows that for sure. So does Carlene. Kristen, my goodness, welcome to the Queen City. How are you?
Very well, thank you so much for having us today.
How does it feel to perform with such an international cast?
Oh, I'm so grateful for the opportunity. These artists that have been put together, all of them come with such a depth. I mean, it's an amazing group of artists that have so much experience that they're bringing to each one of the arias. And, you know, there are different types of voices. People, you know, let's say they have a particular thing that they have the strength in, and all of these wonderful people that are sopranos and are mezzo are Puccini heroes. I mean, they've done so many of the heroines all together in their own repertoire and in their own careers. So to see them all brought together on one stage is kind of unheard of. So this is a great opportunity for the people of Charlotte.
So exciting. And Dr. Shante, you and I have spoken in the past on the opera and the scene here that's growing and flourishing. For people who don't know what the opera is and why this gala concert is so important for the area, talk to us a little about Opera Carolina.
Well, I will just say with Kristen, this is her second A Night to Remember. She was at the very first one.
Lovely.
So this is number 2 for her. Well, this is so important because, you know, what we have found with the Charlotte community and people moving in, whether they are young or, you know, a little more seasoned, is they are willing to try opera. And, you know, when we put on our big, beautiful, grand operas, they're a bit longer and people don't know what they're getting. So when we do these, I call them opera appetizers, people get an opportunity to interact with what, you know, we call the greatest hits. And so they get to interact with the artists and the arias, but they walk away going, I'd come back for more of that. And so we've been able to expand the palette with this little appetizer, and they come back for more in the grand opera season.
All right, so tomorrow the work is a collaboration between I see Festival Puccini of Torre del Lago in Italy.
Yes.
How did this partnership form?
Well, a big part of the general director's job and our artistic director, Claudio Ferri, who put this entire program together, a part of our job is to make sure that we are collaborating with our partners both nationally and internationally. And, you know, we started thinking about what gives opera its color. And when you think about opera as an art, it is a combination of all of the classical arts, the symphonic music, and then you think about the set scenery, and then these lush costumes. And that came about with us being in Italy with our International Lyric Academy, and then we started saying, what can we do to bring this opera appetizer more to life? And then it's like, but all of these heroines have worn these very lush, beautiful costumes to bring these characters and these heroines to life. And so we asked, and we are grateful for the support of our partners who said, we're happy to collaborate to keep the art alive.
Fantastic. And Kristen, you're performing then selections from Madame Butterfly and The Girl of the Golden West.
Yes,
is that
La
right?
Fanciulla del West, absolutely.
Okay, so tell us about these roles.
Madame Butterfly is a young woman who is wed at the early age of 15. She, you know, is brought to her husband for the first time in Act 1, falls deeply, almost instantly in love with him, and then, of course, there's a tragic tale that happens
Of course.
for her life. Whereas Minnie in La Fanciulla del West owns a tavern, and she is the one who works alongside of her parents managing this tavern and takes care of all the gentlemen who pass through, and she's almost a mother to them. She teaches them, she nurtures them, and, you know, in her world, she just wants to find someone to love who love her as
don't
much
we
as
all?
she sees, her father loving her mother. So it's beautiful stories on both sides. One of them is tragic, which is Butterfly, and the other one is so full of optimism and hope, and that's La Fanciulla del West.
I mean, don't you find, as an operatic artiste, your approach to the work, it seems it's a different from maybe other artists? Do you act first? Do you take in the words, the music? What is your approach?
Oh my goodness. Well, first and foremost, I feel like the best storytelling comes from understanding what's being said. The majority of our repertoire is in Italian, if you've already clearly stated. But so to me, I want to make sure that I fully understand the words. So I start in the text, and then from there I delve into the music, because the music is always so accessible when it's Puccini. I think the audience will find that. So, nonetheless, then for that, the next layer is the music. Then, of course, when you're singing and you understand what you're saying, the acting comes quite naturally, I would say. Yes,
Sure.
but then it's the marriage of all of those facets coming together that make that performance complete.
I mean, it's amazing that only so many are blessed with that talent to bring all of those elements together. What can folks expect tomorrow? And I would imagine if any tickets are available at all, Dr. Shantang.
Well, I am forte. Que fortuna. We have a sold
Perfecto.
out show.
Oh, good. Bravo!
For us, we are happy to say that they can expect a packed house.
Okay,
so,
good.
Make sure you're not just rushing in the door like I sometimes am.
Right.
But they can expect these beautiful costumes. They can expect these beautiful voices. They can expect, to see me at least once or twice on stage, maybe. But ultimately, I think they will experience a bit of everything as they're in the theater. If you are coming in to mix and mingle, one of the things that we have heard is our audiences are now interacting and mixing together. So for all of my business people, it's a wonderful opportunity to come and network. So meet somebody you haven't met before.
Nice.
That's an opera lover that's either new to the art or that is deeply steeped in it. So just come with your fun hat on and maybe your dancing shoes a little bit, because I've heard people say I left with a little bit of a song in my heart.
Little step in a little extra step. And for people who have never been to the opera, either one of you, what would you say to encourage people, young and old, to check one out?
My goodness, I would absolutely say that you'll surprise yourself. It is not a stuffy art form. It is not something where you're going to feel like you don't understand what's happening. Nowadays, it is readily accessible. It's exciting, and it penetrates into your soul. The music does, and the storytelling. So I think everybody should try it, and then I truly believe they will actually walk away so satisfied that they gave it a chance.
Fantastico. We're going to show Carlene and I what people are going to receive tomorrow at this sold out Night to Remember, right? It is a little scarf. It's a beautiful scarf. Let me see if I can show this.
There you go.
Oh, how's
Yes.
this?
That's it.
Is it?
Yes,
Opera
gorgeous.
Carolina,
It's
a
gorgeous.
night
Thank
to
you so
remember.
much.
It feels lovely.
Yes.
Grazie mille.
Warm.
For mi regalo. Para mi regalo. And then we can take this out into the cold winter night.
We need it now.
This is true. And then continue to take it to Charlotte FC.
Yes.
And then
And you can do one of these.
go.
Perfect.
So very nice. Lucky you for the guests who get to partake in a night to remember. And we appreciate you too, Bellas and Signor Claudio, for coming into the Live Impact studio and gracing us with a little bit of culture, cultura.
And warmth.
In Italiano.
And warmth.
And warmth. And warmth. All right. A night to remember. If you're not able to go tomorrow, of course, there are other shows to, enjoy through the season. So, the operacarolina.org.
Got it.
There we go. All right. Thank you so much, ladies. And anything else before we let our viewers go for the moment?
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
And thank you again for having us.
Oh, of course. Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Mi piace. All right. And that's going to do it for this segment here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. See you closer to 9:30. We'll be right back. All right, here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, it's a Friday morning. It's Halloween. If you joined at all WCNC Charlotte early this morning or on the Plus on the stream, you know the Bozo Bus was in, and it was a great time had by all. This bus keeps on bringing on the characters. Larry Sprinkle, of course, leading the bus. Here's a little montage of all the friends that came through earlier today.
I am Larry's second cousin twice removed. That bus has got some crazy people on it. I'm telling you, you got weirdos, you got people I don't understand, and it took two of us to drive the bus. The name is Melvin McBling Quentin Telbazin Torkon Liga.
Well, we won't be able to repeat that one.
I can't either. Just call me Melvin.
Melvin, okay.
I am the second bus driver.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It took two of us. It was a trip and a half. I'm from Dakota. North Dakota.
I think your stash is upside down.
Is it upside down? Well, I mean,
I don't know that for sure.
But it kind of looks like.
I know it's real, but I think it's supposed to curve down and not. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
It grew that way.
Oh, really?
I'm from North Dakota.
That's the way it happened.
In South Dakota, it's the other way around.
And your last name is Malay, not Mullet.
Business in the front. Party in the back. I'm Tornado. I go round and round and round and round. I have a whole Bozo bus of little sprinklers now because I bit their neck.
Oh.
Ooh.
And not that I would want to bite your neck.
Of course not.
Or your neck.
Okay.
Got best pizza in the entire universe. I got the belt right here. Eh?
Oh, boy.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
You are energetic.
The guy with the fangy teeth
Yeah.
like this, biting my neck.
So you have a thing about teeth.
Oh. Yeah, you gotta keep your teeth clean. Brush your teeth every day.
Baloney.
Pony.
I do have
Do you like a pony?
Stop.
Oh, how'd you know?
I thought it just. Yeah.
I got a TV by the name of Sony.
Yeah, give him a Tony. Like the award.
Do you like the actor George Clooney?
Somebody make it stop.
What is that? I'm Ricky Rocket, my band the Rickets.
Ricky Rocket and the Rickets.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
What they told me in this little thing they stuck in my ear here.
Yeah.
Tell everybody that after 7 o'clock on the stream,
Yeah.
I'm going to 15 different accents here.
It's been Scottish, it's been Australian, it's been British, it's been...
Over Great Britain.
All over.
Ricky Rocket and the Rickets, get the new album. My name is Frank Benlin.
Frank
A lot of people
Benlin.
Frank
say I look
Benlin.
a lot like Ben Franklin, but I'm Frank Benlin.
Oh, Frank
Benlin.
Benlin.
I get it. I get
Slightly
it. He means well. He means
Count
well.
Sprinkler, his teeth too are a little
Oh, yeah.
concerning.
Yeah, they come out occasionally.
Yeah, I think he almost like
I'm
swallowed
Frank
his teeth there.
Benfield. Get on! Stick around.
Frank Benfield.
Did I change my name?
Who in the world is Frank Benfield? I think you were Frank Benlin.
Frank Benlin.
Come on, what kind of operation are we running on this bozo bus? Frank Benfield.
It changes.
How did your name change halfway through the sketch?
What's going on?
It was on the prompter. Y'all blame it on the prompter.
I tell you what.
Oh boy.
You guys are some sketchy folks.
My name.
You're some sketchy folks on the bozo bus.
Do they have to sign a waiver, a clearance or something? Any background checks?
Please, we need some background checks.
We need
on
some
this.
background checks.
We should have conducted a background check, Carlene.
Just let anybody in this building.
Everyone gets on the
Everybody
bozo
gets
bus.
on the bus. They all get in here.
And then, we sneak in a few of the little fries,
the fries,
little kitty cat.
little kitty cats.
Yeah, but we
we gotta amp up security around
We
here.
would not make the bozo bus though. You had
No.
to be
No, I
a
missed the
little
stop.
crazy.
I missed the stop.
Oh,
Great.
that is great.
It's always fun.
Well, let's
And to be fair, this is Lisa and Majestic's first
true.
visit from the Bozo Bus.
That's right.
And I think they did a good
They
job.
did
'cause
okay.
I mean, Ben's used to this now.
Right, yeah. He
This
knows
is not
all the
Ben's
characters.
First rodeo with the Bozo Bus, but like this is brand new to them, and they
This
did
is
a great
good.
job.
Yeah. They're in for a treat.
They're in for a treat.
Yeah, so Larry, he screens all the people.
Yes.
But sometimes he's tired.
He's tired.
He has to interview
Yeah.
and between
He's a busy
that
guy. He's a Hall of Famer.
and going to the Hall of Fame for
Yeah.
the North Carolina Broadcast Association, that's a lot. Did you put in his speech?
I did.
Oh, no,
I
he
put
spoke
it-
to
he spoke to
Sturtevant.
us.
He spoke to
us.
Sturtevant yesterday after
after the speech.
coming back from the speech. So, wow, I mean, he's so amazing. I just wanted, in case you didn't see Carlene at the top of the newscast of our Live Impact, because up close it looked, yes. So here's the context. Da 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 da. Da-da. Very
Full view.
Wow, that's a catwalk, French fry walk. Very nice.
Aren't you hungry?
We are.
Not sponsored, by the way, but
Not
Arby's,
sponsored.
I am available.
She is available to be bought
Wouldn't you want this
for.
for your advertising needs?
Gosh. Well, better you than me. Better you than me. All right. Well done. So.
Fancy Feast might need a person.
I
Your
mean,
little kitty cat.
they're doing all right. Fancy Feast. All right. Speaking of Larry's speech, so he did talk yesterday on Live Impact News. He talked to our Nick Sturtevant. If you missed part of that convo, it was fun.
It was fun.
Busy
It's always
day.
fun with Larry.
As always, a busy day. I know I say this often. The voice that you heard, I usually introduce her, and I'm doing a poor job of introducing her.
It's okay.
Is
People know
the
me.
super producer Carlene Bragg.
Hi.
But yeah, you got to give Carlene
Thank
her
you.
props. She does such a great job.
Thank you.
Always running around doing great things and being
I've
great.
been running around today.
You have been running around today. Another person who runs around doing great things
Every day.
and every day.
Every day.
A shining example of kindness.
Yes.
It may seem like a simple act,
Right.
but not everybody practices being kind.
Right.
And I
It's
tell
something that's so overlooked.
I
It
tell-
shouldn't be undervalued.
and I tell you guys that be kind,
Yeah.
because you just never know what folks are going through throughout their day.
Right.
So it always helps to be kind. And one of those folks, he's not only a Hall of Fame person, he's a Hall of Fame broadcaster. Larry Sprinkle, weatherman Larry Sprinkle, special
We got a Hall
guest
of
here.
Famer in the house.
Oh man, I embarrass Larry when I do all of this.
You can tell oh, look at his face.
But Larry, you were inducted into the North Carolina Broadcaster Association Hall of Fame. That such an incredible honor, man. Congratulations. We're proud of you.
Thank
you deserve it.
Yeah.
You deserve all the things.
Keep talking. I'm listening.
Take me through, I guess, that moment. We were kind of talking about it before we got on air. When you walked in, because that was in Raleigh. You drove.
It was in Raleigh.
Yeah, it was in Raleigh. So
Yeah,
you walked
Raleigh.
into the pavilion. What was that
at
like?
the Angus Pavilion there, and it was North Carolina Association of Broadcasters, an organization that's been around many, many years. Radio and television represented all over the state, from the mountains to the beaches, every spot in between. And when I got the call from them, it's probably been maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, saying that I was going to be inducted. I was almost speechless then. And when I walked in yesterday to the event, I was hit with emotion. I thought it was just like it just enveloped me. I didn't know it was going to happen. Luckily, you didn't see any of the tears, but they were there. I think I was hugging somebody.
I think I see one tear.
There's several there. But so many people from the station who work here now, people I used to work with in every department, from management to news directors and then our president and general manager of WCNC TV, Joan Barrett. Her introduction to me, I was listening to that. I was like, "Who are you talking about?" It was monumental. It was very special, and then to go up on stage and to accept that, and I really haven't showed this closely, but and I really haven't looked at it just now. This is the what do you see that or not?
Wow, that is
It's
incredible.
pretty. That's pretty.
Yes, it has my name engraved on it. Yeah, right there.
It should. You're a Hall of
No,
Famer.
it's pretty heavy.
Does it have your middle name on there too? Did you omit
Larry, the Hall of Famer Sprinkle.
Okay.
Right there.
Good. They got it.
It's my new middle name on there. No, it's I can't describe what the feeling is. It was almost surrealistic to be there, to think that, I saw those names like Edward R. Murrow and David Brinkley, Howard Cosell, Andy Griffith, Billy Graham, and I went, I'm going to be on that list among so many, broadcasters, radio and television, people who are on air, off air, who've been inducted, and to be among those is as special as it gets. And I would say in my career in broadcasting, about 95% of it has been in North Carolina. I was in Memphis, Tennessee, in radio for a while, and then of all crazy things, 2 years of my life, well, a lot of my life was spent traveling, but 2 years I was in radio and high school in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. I actually had a job in radio there, which is a story that would take an hour to tell or more.
We have a shot of young Larry. How old were you? Were you 14 years old in this picture right here?
That's my first job.
You look the same.
Well, you keep talking. WBBO Radio, Forest City, North Carolina, and that's where I basically was the station gopher. They knew I was interested in radio, and they said, "Well, come over after school every day." And I literally would take the trash out, go across the street, empty. Back in those days, empty the trash, the ash trays. Back in those days,
you
those
smoked
things.
in the newsroom.
Yeah. Not me. No, that was. And one day at the station, one of the DJs took a break. I'll be back. Just watch that record. Right back in those days, playing records or vinyl. He walked out, didn't come back, and the record's going fading. Da, 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 and I went, oh gosh! So I ran over, clipped the mic, and back in those days, it was Larry Sprinkle, a 14-year-old kid, and I sounded like it.
WBBO, it's Larry Sprinkle. That was the Beatles. I want to hold your hand on WBBO.
Bang. And so that was my initiation in radio. And they said, okay, you proved you can do it. Now you have a show. And they gave me a show after school every day, a couple hours. The program director sat me down and said, Larry, you are 14 years old. No one should know that. Back in those days, no one knew what you looked like.
Yeah.
You tell people on the phone you're 20. So I had to tell people, if they asked me my age, and my voice, they said, and we're going to work on that.
Because I talk like this back in those days.
I had to really bring the voice down, and I had to be like this. I'm a big time DJ now, so on the air I was like this.
Off the air I was like this.
And I told the story yesterday about I would always get phone calls. You take requests, and quite often it was ladies calling me, and so I had to be really cool on the phone. It was like, okay, on the hello WBBO, I'm Larry Sprinkle. How are you? Oh yeah, I'll play that. And so I get calls, every day. And at one point, one of the ladies called me and said, "Hey, we'd like to come down and meet you." And so at that moment, I went, "Yeah, come on down, meet me." and they said, "We're on the way." And then I went, "Oh no,
Oh no.
oh gosh, I don't know they got to meet me." So here I am. You saw that picture. My pants were up to here. You could put your wallet in just like that. And I had the crew cut. I was a gangly teenager, and I looked like one, and acted like one. Not on the air, off the air. So I saw the car pull up. I saw 5 girls get out, and they're approaching the door, and I went, "Oh no!" And they knocked on the door. And remember, no one knows what I look like.
Right.
They knocked on the door. And I opened the door, and they're like this. I'm standing here, and they're going, "Where's Larry?" Looking for everyone.
He is. He's in the studio. He's interviewing the Beatles right now. He said, "Come back again, okay?" Boom, close the door.
So, to them, I was just some guy hanging out. Larry was in another studio somewhere, not realizing that that's the same guy you've been talking to, who was I could not talk to a lady for maybe another 2 or 3 years, face to face. But yeah, it was kind of my initiation into you got to be cool all the time, not just on the air, and get your act together. Yeah.
Always so cool. That's where he got it from. I do want to ask you this, as a guy, you've been doing this for a long time, and this industry continues to evolve and change, and we constantly have to keep up with the times. How have you been able to continue to be inspired, motivated to wake up and do this? Because it doesn't get easier.
No, and in fact, it's always an evolution. There's a constant change. And I've been to the station 40 years, and in those 40 years at the TV station, I've been under several different ownerships and managers and news directors and personnel changes. So there is a situation where you have to go with the flow.
Yeah.
You have to accept change and understand that there's different news philosophies, different people you have to work with. And I think it's just accepting that and realizing that I'm not going to change them. I have to kind of let them change me, but still be myself.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of the business. And this business, the changes have happened really just the past several years.
Yeah.
A lot of it since COVID, but the changes are almost on a daily basis, and with social media coming in, that's a monumental change.
Yeah.
That's like people who went from radio to television, who had never worked in TV. Change, that kind of change, and so there are times when I've been, I don't want to say reluctant, but apprehensive about it, and so you just have to finally accept it. Even me in social media, I'm not the greatest in social media, but I need to accept that. That's the future.
Yeah.
In addition to what we do on broadcast and on streaming, as we're doing right now.
How do you do that and authentically continue to be yourself? And when did you find your voice? Because folks who are not in the industry, they talk about us in a way, and not in a bad way. They're like your TV voice, or they crave someone authentic, and you're somebody who's always authentic. And how I asked you 2 questions. I know I'm asking you a lot right now because I love to pick your brain, but how were you able to find your voice and continue to be authentic?
For so long, as a little kid, as a young kid who listened in radio, I used to listen to radio stations that I could pick up that came out of New York and Chicago Chicago and Philadelphia. And up north, they could just boom those signals all over the country. And so my dream was to be like one of those guys. You know, there was always somebody that I would pick out. It could be cousin Brucey Morrow from WABC, Larry Lujak from WLS, Wolfman Jack, you know, all these people. And so there were times in my career that I tried to sound like them. You know, there is a character in radio, we call him Ron Radio, and it's the unauthentic, the one who's a phony wannabe DJ that sounds like this, everybody. We got the greatest music for you right now, Ron Radio here. And so in my career, there was probably a time when I was a bit Ron Radio-ish, and I'll never forget, I sent a tape. I was working in radio in Greenville, North Carolina, when I was at East Carolina, and it was an opening at a major radio station in New York City. I sent a tape, thinking that, man, I'm ready for the big time. I sent a tape and a resume tape, an audition tape. Weeks go by, months go by, 2 months go by, and they still had the opening. So I called the radio station.
Oh, bold.
To talk to the program director. So he comes on the phone and he answers. I said, hey, this is Larry Sprinkle. I'm in WPXY in Greenville, North Carolina. You know, I noticed you still have the opening. I want to make sure you got my tape. It was a long pause, a really long pause. He comes back on and he goes, yeah, we got your tape. You need a little more seasoning. And it was a reality check.
Wow.
It was like, and I said thank you and hung up, and I realized you're not as good as you think you are.
Yeah.
I think I was like 19 at the time, 18 or 19, and you know, I knew that I did need more seasoning. So what you're talking about, to find yourself, for me, took some time. In radio, it took a number of years, but I think finally there's a maturity, a maturation that takes place when you realize you got to be who you are.
Yeah.
I can't be somebody, I can't be that guy, or, you know, in television, you've got to be genuine about it, because, you know, in television, people see you.
Yeah.
And then in this business, not only see you here, but out there as well.
Yeah.
You can't be, well, I'm sure you try to be 2 or 3 different people, or you got to just be yourself, because people finally realize, I'm not sure about that. Or they go, wow, they really is the same guy. I don't know.
Man, like I cringe when I look at my old stuff, because I know who I was trying to be at that point in my career, and I don't cringe as much now, because I'm like, oh, this is me. This is me. Yeah.
I mean, you go back and you look at, or listen or look at tapes, and you go, I'm just not sure about that. And the reality, for me, the reality is, every time that I see today anything that I've done, I see all the pockmarks. Yeah. All the creases, I go, oh my gosh, the way I said that word, or the way I look.
Yeah.
It's like it's like it's always something that I feel like I've got to change. You know, you're never perfect. There's always improvement that can be made.
It's a hard industry.
It's
a hard industry.
It is.
What you got, Carlene?
What would you tell the young ones out there that might be watching or whatever, who want to get into this industry and be here 40 years later at the same station or anything like that? What would you tell? What would you tell somebody who's like fresh into the business? It's a hard business. It's tough.
Yeah, it's
and
hard.
like you said, it changes
constantly.
Yeah. And you know, what I've always told people who are interested in broadcasting is, first of all, be a good listener. You never learn by talking. You learn by listening, and you can absorb from everyone. And the people you work with, your managers, and those that are the ones you admire, watch and listen, and you can learn. And be yourself, obviously. But I always say that, and not that the world has changed, because when I was coming along, you couldn't go from that radio station that I worked for in Forest City to New York City. You couldn't go from there to Charlotte. There are steps in between. And I say experience is the teacher.
Yeah.
You know, there's on-the-job training, and for a lot of people who are lucky enough to go from maybe college or small market into the Charlotte market, this size, you know, the best of luck to you.
Yeah.
But experience, there's no better teacher than experience, than learning those lessons early on in your career, making those mistakes, and not making those mistakes in front of a huge audience. It gets much tougher that way.
Oh, man. A Hall of Famer, a great person, great human being. I'm honored to work with you. And I just love those little moments when Larry, when he has time, when he's not running around, and he stops by my desk, or I run into him in the hallway, and we have a brief chat.
Always enjoy very much.
It's a great time.
It's great to be here with you, too. You know, this is, you guys do it. You know, speaking of genuineness and reality of what goes on today, what happens in this studio is so special to me, because this is what it should be. You know, that you have the ability to converse and do so genuinely, and the type of conversation you want to listen to. You guys have mastered that here in this.
Oh, man.
Larry?
Yeah, that's very special.
Larry one upping us on the compliment.
I know.
And I have another compliment. No, thank you. It means a lot.
It means a lot.
And we look up to you, Larry.
Yes.
And look, it's been a long time since you've been here on the program, Larry. I know you're busy, but you got to make some time for us here on the stream.
Any time you want me to slide
We
in
got nothing
here.
but time, Larry. You want to come in here? We can chit chat.
Come on,
Just walk on by.
Yeah, walk on by.
I'm only 50 feet or 60 feet, you know, behind that little room there.
Yeah, but walk on by. Just say hey.
Yeah.
We'll have you on.
I'd love to.
Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Sprinkle. Thank you for your time, Larry.
Always.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
And we'll take a break here as well, live on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Back here now at 9:55 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. The government shut down into day 31, making it a full month. Alice Barr in Washington for NBC News with the latest.
President Trump overnight throwing a major curveball into the shutdown showdown, calling on Republicans to go for the nuclear option, to get rid of the filibuster and get rid of it now. Doing that would let GOP members pass a short-term funding bill to reopen the government with a simple 50-vote majority instead of the 60 needed now. The Senate's top Republican has publicly opposed changing the filibuster, instead urging more Democrats to cross over and back the bill.
We have a few already. We need 5 Democrats with a backbone.
Democratic leadership holding firm on restoring health care provisions.
The American people understand
that there's a Republican healthcare crisis.
That amid a deepening food insecurity crisis. The emergency response organization World Central Kitchen now in D.C. helping feed federal workers who are missing paychecks.
I wish people in power understood that we are much closer to poverty than a lot of folks outside of D.C. Perhaps don't understand or don't know.
And now SNAP food assistance is set to expire on Saturday, ripping a lifeline away from low-income Americans. Democrats pushing for a standalone bill using contingency funds to extend those benefits.
No president has ever stopped these funds from flowing in a shutdown.
Republicans rejecting blame, accusing Democrats of a political bid.
To insulate themselves from the consequences of their own actions.
Now, as the consequences grow, one Republican senator proposing a constitutional amendment to stop lawmakers' pay while the shutdown drags on. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And with the SNAP benefits expected to be suspended tomorrow, what does that mean? Our Colin Mayfield talked to NC State professor Sarah Bowen here earlier on WCNC Plus about the possible impacts if that happens.
All right, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. We're going to talk about SNAP funding. I'm sure a lot of you know more than 40 million Americans are going to be impacted by this when SNAP runs out on November 1st. There's been a lot of discussion about this at the Congress.
You know what? We're going to put a pin in this conversation, but because it appears that happening live right now, House Speaker Mike Johnson is taking the podium a little bit earlier than expected. Let's go ahead and listen in live on WCNC Plus.
And this morning, we want to speak specifically about the millions of American families that are going to feel real hardship because of the SNAP benefits drying up. And we have no one less than the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, who's in charge of that program, that will speak directly to that issue. But I want to begin first with just a word of sincere gratitude. Across this country, we've got millions of federal workers who have been showing up at the office every day without pay. This has drug on for a month now. Those federal workers have shown up for a month straight, not knowing when or if their next paycheck will be delivered. They're doing their jobs, and they're doing it valiantly, while the Senate Democrats simply refuse to do their job. Their most simple and basic responsibility is to keep the government in operation so that we can keep the services flowing to the American people and keep the country moving. But they're not doing that. So we just want to say to these federal workers, like the hundreds of civilian employees who are also spread throughout the country, like the ones in my district. For example, at the Bain Jones Army Community Hospital down at Fort Polk, our big Army base there. We just want to say thank you for your diligence, for doing your job, for your service to the country, even though Democrats are withholding your paycheck. They are shameless in doing so. Throughout this shutdown, President Trump and his administration have done everything in their power, as we relay to you here every day, example after example. They've done everything they can to mitigate and reduce the harm to the American people. He's gone out of his way to find creative solutions to ensure our service members don't miss a paycheck, for example, to ensure that the WIC program, that the nutrition assistance to women, infants, and children is still flowing. President Trump has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that if there is any way to fund these programs that are drying up now, that he will do it. If there was any way to fund SNAP during the Democrat shutdown, you can be assured that your commander-in-chief would do it. But we are now reaching a breaking point. Thanks to Democrats voting no on government funding now 14 different times, SNAP benefits for millions of American families are drying up. It's about 1 in 8 people in this country who rely upon this to literally put food on their table. And the blame for this lies 100% with the senators sitting over there on the Democrat Party. They are the ones who have locked arms and decided over and over and over and over, 14 times now, to vote against these services being provided. And now I want you to think about that. You're going to have real people, real families. You're going to have children who will go hungry beginning this weekend when those resources dry up. They rely upon that, and yet the Democrats continue with their political games in Washington while people are sitting around the dinner table without the resources that they need. The administration has done all it can to keep this program afloat, but the limits have been reached here. And what are the Democrats doing today? Where are the Democrats? Are they in the Senate today? No, they're out campaigning. While critical SNAP benefits run dry, the Democrats have skipped town. They've abandoned their post in the Senate, and the reason that's so important and noteworthy for the American people is the Senate is the only place where this can end. The last hope of reopening the government before millions of Americans go hungry. They've abandoned their post. Democrats are now this is the incredible part, they're now trying to somehow blame Republicans for cutting off SNAP when Republicans, remember, are the ones who have voted 14 times for the SNAP benefits to flow. It's the Democrats who voted every single time to turn that off. The same Democrats who've been perfectly fine with defunding SNAP and WIC for over a month now are suddenly claiming to be outraged that Republicans and President Trump can't just wave some magic wand and fix the mess that they themselves have created. If they're suddenly waking up to the pain their reckless decision is causing, then there's one simple way to fix it. They can come back in here and vote to reopen the government. But we don't think they're going to do that. Now, this is what's interesting. The most recent development is that you've got many more people now calling on the Senate Democrats to do the right job. There's a handful of moderates still in the Democrat Party, and they are very upset about that. The tension is rising. You had Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, for example, who just yesterday, I think it was, accused his own party of, quote, playing chicken with the food security of 42 million Americans. He's right. And you've seen now the avalanche of people and organizations and institutions calling on the Democrats to reopen the government and vote for the clean CR. You got labor unions, you got the largest airlines in America, you got independent voters. Working class Americans across the country, they are all pleading with the Democrats to do their job and stop using their hardships, the people's hardships, for the Democrats' political games in Washington. Yesterday, there was a lot said, written about an editorial that was in the Washington Post. I commend it to your reading if you haven't seen that. But it reads in part just one line out of that. I would like to stand up here and read you the whole thing. The Washington Post, as you know, is not generally on my side. They said, quote, Democrats openly acknowledge that they refuse to do this, reopen the government, because it would mean giving up their leverage. If they persist, it will mean families start to go hungry. Now, look, this isn't some novel idea. As you know, the Democrats have always traditionally said, breathlessly, given speeches passionately saying that you've got to keep the government funded. You should never shut it down. It would be so dangerous. And we've recounted this over and over. I mean, I literally could be here all day reading the Democrats' own past statements on the perils of shutting down the government, but I'm just going to highlight a couple this morning because they're relevant and timely. I'll begin with Senator Coons. He's the senior Democrat senator from Delaware. In 2013, he said this, quote, our democracy cannot function if the majority party threatens to shut down the government unless it gets its way, unquote. And that was Senator Coons in 2013. And what is he saying now? Earlier this week, he said, quote, frankly, this is our only moment of leverage. Quite a switch. Bernie Sanders has got a lot of airtime here lately, and back in 2018, Senator Bernie Sanders said this, quote, the truth is that shutting down the government is a serious and dangerous action that we must do everything possible to prevent. That was in 2018. You know what he said this month? Quote, if we reopen the government, we lose our leverage. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse in 2013. The shutdown was, quote, entirely unnecessary and has harmed our economy and our reputation in the world. But if we also can't forget, we must never again allow extremist hostage-taking to create this kind of disruption. That was 2013. Just days ago, the senator from Rhode Island said the opposite. It's the only lever we have, meaning the shutdown. What he means is that the pain of the American people is their political lever. I guess he's forgotten his cries of alarm over the extremist hostage-taking. And how about the House? And infamously now, we all know, the Democrat whip, Catherine Clark, the second highest ranking Democrat in the House, said, quote, just last year, she said, they are taking a non-issue, a false flag, and saying this is the reason we can't proceed. It is a dangerous precedent to be threatening a shutdown. That's what she said in 2024. And what'd she say about a week ago? The opposite, quote, of course there will be families that are going to suffer here, but it's one of the few leverage times we have. Many House members have echoed the same hypocrisy, and I'm not going to waste our time with it this morning, but I do want to leave you with this quote from Chuck Schumer, because he is the actual architect of the shutdown. He is the one that is preventing the Senate Democrats from doing the right thing. In March of this year, as you know, he voted on the same CR to avert a shutdown. And he said then, quote, in his speech on the Senate floor and in a bunch of interviews, this is what he said on the Senate floor, quote, the CR was certainly bad, but a shutdown would be 15 or 20 times worse. It was a vote of principle. And today, Chuck Schumer, entirely void of principle, by his own estimation, said, quote, every day gets better for his party. Tell that to the millions of American families facing a hunger crisis now as a direct result of his failed leadership and shenanigans. Those Democrats have all collectively voted 14 times over the last several weeks to reject the clean continuing resolution to fund the government, and they've made it abundantly clear they're going to continue to do that, to hold the American people hostage, so long as it serves their political interest to look tough to the leftist radicals in their base. Republicans have done our part to end the government, the Democrat shutdown, and now it's time for Democrats to do theirs. The path forward is simple. Please, please, every American who is concerned about this, every American that is feeling the harm, you should call the Senate Democrats and tell them to stop the nonsense. Echo the voices of the unions, of the airlines, of hardworking people everywhere, and tell them to stop doing this and open the government. We have to do that. 42 million Americans are set to miss meals starting tomorrow, and this should be the easiest vote they've ever taken in their lives. I don't want to belabor this point any longer, because I'm delighted to introduce you to our guest for the daily press conference here. Everybody knows Brooke Rollins, the incomparable, as I call her, the incomparable Brooke Rollins. She leads the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And, of course, her department operates and oversees SNAP benefits to all these tens of millions of Americans. We're fortunate to have her here today. She's going to talk about the devastating effects of the Democrats' decisions on all this, and I'm delighted to give her the podium now. Brooke, so thanks so much for being here, Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mike, Mr. Speaker. Really great to be here with everyone. I was reminded I was in the Speaker's backyard in Louisiana over the weekend and on Friday, and we went to a restaurant there, and our waiter by the name of Joe was wonderful. He was a multi-generational Louisiana and New Orleans, and he was our server, and he was just so impressive. And towards the end, he brought up that, well, this is a job he had to take because he was furloughed. And so was not making any money, and he worked for the federal government. He didn't know who I was. And I said, well, Joe, I can appreciate that. You know, I'm sort of in that world as well. And I said, where do you work? And he said, well, I work for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in their New Orleans office as part of the financial team. And so it just really brought home for me, to echo what Mike said, just thanking so many thousands of federal workers who are showing up, who are still doing their job, who aren't getting paid, those that are now concerned about putting food on the table and making their mortgages and paying their rent, but to be out in the country, I was in Indiana yesterday, and understand the real sort of pain that's being felt. But just to echo a couple of the themes that Speaker Johnson talked about, again, the idea that the Democrats have now for 14 different votes voted to keep the government closed is absolutely unconscionable. Every day they hold the federal government hostage. They are leaving millions of families' livelihoods and critical benefits, including SNAP, hanging in the balance. Of course, we all know the 13,000 air traffic controllers working without pay, many turning to Uber, taking second jobs in restaurants, etc., as this shutdown continues. Hundreds of thousands of federal employees are not receiving a paycheck. Thousands of small business loans are going unapproved each month because of the shutdown, equating to almost $4 billion in capital being taken out of the pockets of small business owners across this country, truly the backbone of our economy. It is a fact that Democrats shut down the government over free health care for illegal aliens and their $1.5 trillion partisan wish list. Democrats need to stop playing politics with the livelihoods of hardworking Americans and open the government now by voting for the clean resolution. We are here today because SNAP benefits run dry tomorrow. So the truth has finally revealed itself, hasn't it? Democrat support for programs like SNAP is now reduced to cynical control over people's lives. This last month has shown that the party who constantly says it puts people over politics does the complete opposite. Millions of Americans, as of tomorrow, will no longer receive SNAP and potentially WIC or even a paycheck. Democrats have instigated a disgusting dereliction of duty unlike anything I have seen in all my years doing this work, all to favor illegal aliens and other radical far-left policies that benefit only a small, tiny sliver of their base. I am embarrassed for Chuck Schumer. He is going out of his way to please the likes of Zohran Mamdani, a man who is polarizing America with his socialist rhetoric and anti-American principles. The very essence of government responsibility is to the citizens who live and work here to protect their interests first, unless you are a Democrat in the United States Senate. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are doing all this because they fear the socialists and the radicals to their left. Ironically, in leaving American families hungry and American children without food, they are giving a preview of what those socialists will do to every one of us if they ever take power. What you're really seeing here is the end of the Democrats as a responsible party of government, a party that ends governance, a party that ignores Americans, a party that cannot master the most basic principles and processes of government, is a party that cannot be trusted with the reins of power. It isn't oriented toward anything but the end of the system in which it exists. SNAP is arguably just the beginning. The logical and inevitable end to where this all goes is the Democrats and the whole superstructure of constitutional government. President Trump has made it clear, reopen the government, get government funding back on solid footing, restore the confidence of American families who count on programs like SNAP, and stop treating them and their well-being as pawns in a political game, according to the Democrats. Prioritize American citizens, prioritize American families, and prioritize American children. I would like to make a quick note and then want to obviously leave lots of time for questions. Yesterday, I was in Indiana, and I was visiting a soybean farm, a sixth-generation soybean farm, the Everetts. And they have about 1,500 acres right outside of Indianapolis. We were harvesting corn, but they also do soybeans. And as I was there, it occurred to me that what President Trump has been doing over the last week or weeks in fighting across the world to open up markets for American farmers, for American families, while the Democrats are back here playing political games. It must stop. We must get the government open, and our citizens and these voters and our taxpayers and our families and our children expect no less. Thank you all.
All right, take a few questions. Chad, go ahead. You're standing up in the back. Go ahead.
Hello, Chad.
This question for the Secretary. The minority leader in the House said yesterday, Hakeem Jeffries, that the term he used was lying, that some of these SNAP benefits couldn't be liberated. Can you explain, refute that, give us your perspective, what their perspective is, and what your argument is, why they can't?
Yeah, and I appreciate the opportunity to explain that. So the fact that the Democrats are saying, but wait, USDA has money in their accounts, why it is really their fault, I've seen it over and over and over from some of their leaders, is absolute false, and it is a lie. We have been saying on October 10th we sent messages out, on October 24th we sent messages out, these benefits end on November 1st. Now, let me get down into a little bit of the details on that to better explain. So there is a contingency fund at USDA, but that contingency fund, by the way, doesn't even cover, I think, half of the $9.2 billion that would be required for November SNAP, but it is only allowed to flow if the underlying program is funded. It's called a contingency fund, and by law, contingency fund can only flow when the underlying fund is flowing. So, for example, if today the Democrats say, "Oh, never mind, sorry, we'll open the government," and SNAP flows, Hurricane Melissa or one of the hurricanes hits, that's the contingency fund that we would use to send more money into the vulnerable communities that are harmed by a specific event like a hurricane. But it is a contingency fund that can only flow if the underlying appropriation is approved. And listen, even if it could flow, it doesn't even cover half of the month of November. So here we are again in 2 weeks having the exact same conversation.
I'll just add to that. The Democrats are lying about that, and I think they know that. Some of the ones who are out saying it are actually attorneys. They can read the black letter law themselves. They've even filed a lawsuit, you saw, to try to do it. Why? Because they wanted a talking point. They know that's a frivolous piece of litigation. They know they're going to lose, but they also know it'll take many weeks or months to have that ultimately determined by a court because of the way the justice system works. So they're using it as a talking point to try to claim. I believe they know for a fact that what they filed in the court is false. I mean, you know, they're lawmakers. They're supposed to know how the law works. And so the whole thing is just shameful, shameful. And they're using the people as pawns in this game. That underlying fund that the Secretary just addressed was unfunded by the Democrats themselves when they voted against the CR. The CR would have kept all this funded, and they chose not to do it. Not once, not twice. 13 times in the Senate, once in the House, 14 overall. Yes, sir.
I'm sure you saw President Trump's truth last night, suggesting that it's time for Senate Republicans to blow up the filibuster in order to get the continuing resolution passed. I know in the past you've been reluctant to encourage your Senate colleagues to do that or not. Are you aligned with the president now that it's time for him to take this dramatic step to reopen the government?
I haven't. The president's been very busy. He was in Asia doing all these trade agreements. I've been a little busy, as you know. We haven't spoken since he returned. I sent him a text earlier this morning. I saw that as well. What you're seeing is an expression of the president's anger at the situation. He is as angry as I am and the American people are about this madness. And he just desperately wants the government to be reopened so that all these resources can flow to the people who need it so much. Look, I'll just say this in general. As I've said many times about the filibuster, it's not my call. I don't have a say in this. It's a Senate chamber issue. We don't have that in the House, as you know. But the filibuster has traditionally been viewed as a very important safeguard. If the shoe was on the other foot, I don't think our team would like it. The Democrats, look, they've said what they would do. They would pack the Supreme Court. They would make Puerto Rico and D.C. states. They would ban firearms. They would do all sorts of things that would be very harmful for the country. And the safeguard in the Senate has always been the filibuster. But again, not my issue, not something I get to even weigh in on. My opinion on this is not relevant. It's the senators. But I think that it just is another expression of the frustration, of the pressure that is being felt, the anger by the president and by me and all of us that we're in this situation at all. Do your basic job. I'm going to say this again. We have put zero Republican policy priorities on the CR. It is Biden-level policies and spending. They have no excuse at all not to support it. They have no excuse to put all this pain on the American people, except that for what we've just articulated and repeated here every day, they want to give a showing to the radical left fringes of their base, and they want to give illegal benefits or benefits back to illegal aliens and non-citizens and all the other crazy stuff that they've claimed. Yeah.
Can I respond?
Sure.
I just very quickly, I have not spoken to the president either since last night, but let me say this. He is, and I've been next to him for almost 9 or 10 years now. He is so resolutely focused on delivering for the American people all day, every day, 7 days a week, 20 hours a day. This is what he is thinking about. And as the world's greatest deal maker, from his perspective, The way he thinks out of the box as a businessman is how do we end this nonsense and how do we again open the government and how do we support these families that need support?
Yeah, go ahead. I'd already called on him. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
Madam Secretary, question to you. So I know you addressed the contingency fund, but SNAP has never run out of funding in its 60-year history, even during shutdown. Why were past administrations able to find funding to keep it afloat in a shutdown that you can't?
Well, let me see. I've got a chart I want to show you all on the SNAP funding. My charts are slightly wanky because our print shop is closed because we're load. So it was a little arts and crafts time over at USDA early this morning. So this is the chart of the SNAP program. Now I know everyone can't see this, but this goes back to October of 2023. And I want everyone to follow. This is the red line that under Joe Biden, you see an almost 30% increase in the cost of the SNAP program over the 4 years that President Biden and the USDA was overseeing it with Congress funding it. And you see now the downward trend since President Trump was reelected November, and we've had about 650,000 people move off of SNAP since President Trump was elected. A press conference for another time. That's obviously the goal of all these programs, is to move families into real work and the dignity of that. I say that because the astronomical costs of the SNAP program under Joe Biden was historical. It was unprecedented, and we don't have the same levels of funding that were there in the past. And by the way, for 1 month, we have Band-Aided and bubble-gummed and duct taped this deal to get this 1 month of funding in for SNAP, the $9 billion. Thank you.
Quick follow-up. I mean, because reality is setting in for a lot of people this weekend. So what do you say to the millions of people who stand to lose their food stamp benefits? What should they do?
My message to America is first, the fact that your government is failing you right now. That poverty is not red or blue. It is not a Republican or Democrat issue. It doesn't matter who you voted for or even if you voted. That if you are in a position where you can't feed your family and you're relying on that $187 a month for an average family in the SNAP program, that we have failed you. But I think what's so important, and this is why we keep hammering this, the Republicans have voted over and over and over again to open this government so that these funds don't stop. And for 14 different times, the Democrats have said, no, we are going to hold hostage the most vulnerable families in this country so that we can get our left-wing radical agenda into the government and the governing structure. And to that, President Trump, Speaker Johnson, Majority Leader Thune have said absolutely not, and we're very grateful for that. Please vote yes. We implore the Democrats in the Senate to vote yes to get this government open and these people the benefits that they need to feed their families.
And it's clarifying. When she says we have failed you, she means we, the Democrats, okay? Because as we've just explained, Republicans have voted 14 times to get this done. The president has pleaded with Schumer and Hakeem to open the government, and they told them no. We're doing everything we can. The Republicans, they say, well, the Republicans are in charge of the federal government. Why can't they get this done? It's simple math. We need 60 votes in the Senate. We only have 53 Republicans. We have to have Democrats. It is the Democrats alone who are failing the American people. And this administration, every cabinet secretary, it's not just Secretary Rollins, every cabinet secretary is bending over backwards to make sure that the American people are served and they get what they need. But we are not magicians. We cannot wave a magic wand. The funds have run out because the Democrats are playing games, and that's why we've been here every day this month pleading with them to do the right thing, and they do not care. They have shown how callous they are. They do not care that people are suffering, and that's who's failed them. It's not the government overall. It's the Democrats who are holding up the government for working for the people. It's a very important thing. Jay, go ahead.
You undoubtedly you've seen some of the modest progress in the Senate. At least people are talking about spending, 26 spending. Number one, I want to get your sense for where things are, your reaction to that. And would you bring the House back if they got some sort of agreement on a number of spending bills?
Yeah, look, the whole point of this is a very important reminder. The reason we're in this mess is because they voted against the clean CR. What was the point of the CR? The CR was merely to buy us 7 additional weeks to finish the funding of the government, the appropriations process. We were working on that in bipartisan fashion and bicameral fashion. As you know, we had a conference committee set to go on 3 appropes bills that had passed out of the House. They didn't match the Senate exactly. They were going to work through that. That's the process. And our appropriators, the members of Congress who work on all this funding every day, are raring to go. In both parties, in both chambers, they want to get back to that work, and that is the whole point. Chuck Schumer and the leadership are holding that process up. So am I optimistic that we can get back to that? Yes, but we can't do any of it until they take the simple step to vote on that additional time. It's just a stopgap funding measure to make all these services and funding flow to the people so that we can finish that work. They're holding it up. So I'm heartened, Jake, that we have members on both sides. I had a meeting with the chairman of our Appropriations Committee in my office yesterday afternoon. Tom Cole came in. We were talking about the latest and what those appropriators are doing, the things they're working on. I meet with Leader Thune about it almost daily on the subject. We are ready. The next packages of funding bills are being prepared. And yes, we want to pass that off the House as soon as possible. We want to get all 12 appropriations bills done because we're returning to regular order. That's been a commitment of mine since I became the Speaker 2 years ago, and it's something that Congress must do to be better stewards of taxpayer dollars. So we don't have, I'm using your handy chart here, so we don't have this spike in spending. We have more responsible spending. The only way to get this, to make the government work better and more efficiently for the people is to go through that stewardship process, that important obligation that the founders intended and that we've used to respect, but we haven't in a long time. So all of this is entwined in that. We've got to get Congress working again. We're anxious to do it, and the sooner we can get back here and get the lights on, the better. But the number one mission of Congress right now is to turn the government back on. There's too many people's lives and health and hunger at stake. This is not a game. They've got to stop playing games. Remember this, too. The first time in U.S. history that any party has had the audacity to do what the Democrats and the Senate are doing right now. No one ever before has shut the government down over a clean, nonpartisan CR because it would have been unthinkable until now. And you need to remind them of that. Yes, ma'am. Last one.
The One Big Beautiful Bill contained numerous Medicaid anti-fraud measures. Senator Tuberville recently highlighted a slew of aliens are receiving these SNAP benefits. Are there any plans to do the same with SNAP and totally reform it just to ensure that it's available only to U.S. citizens?
You want to?
Yes, in fact, we've already done that. Now, so a couple of quick things on the, I guess the silver lining in all of this is that we're having a national conversation on our SNAP program, that this has sort of shined a light on a program that, especially under the last administration, has just become so bloated, so broken, so dysfunctional, so corrupt that it is astonishing when you dig in. So 3 important things on that. The first, I talked about the extraordinary explosion of benefits under the last administration. And what happened was that the money that was going out was zero accountability. So one of the very first things we did when I was sworn in was send a letter to all the states and to remind everyone the SNAP program is administered through the states and the governor's office. So send a letter to all the states saying no more illegal aliens on SNAP, period, full stop. So that's already a rule of this administration. We're working to enforce it every single day. The second thing is we began a very serious investigation into a lot of the fraud and abuse that we kept getting anecdotal stories of that no one was doing anything about. And so just in the last, I think, 6 months, we've had major dozens of arrests, people going to jail, fraudulent activity of 50 million here. One guy's registered for SNAP in 6 different states. I mean, it's one thing after another. So we are taking that extremely, extremely seriously, and we'll continue to do so. And then the third thing on this is that for the first time ever, we, the USDA, have asked the states for their data so that we can ensure that taxpayer dollars are being spent appropriately. Not surprisingly, all of the red states said, yes, please help us with this. We want to do the right thing. We want to make sure there's not all this corruption and fraud. By the way, 2 blue state-led governors also leaned in, Colorado and North Carolina, alongside every one of the red governors. But the other blue states, California, Oregon, New York, Washington, all of them actually sued us and said, oh no, we're not going to give you any data. So the problem is you have an extremely corrupt program, but up until this administration, and with President Trump's direct focus on this and making sure every taxpayer dollar is spent appropriately, we've never really had the opportunity to dig in. So we're going to be talking a lot more about SNAP reform. We've got a lot of people listening now, which is very, very helpful, and to take that program back to its original intent of helping those who are truly needy in our communities, but not to have a massive welfare benefit where so many people are taking advantage of it that shouldn't be.
And I just want to add briefly, just zoom out a little bit. This is a stark contrast between the two parties, the two major parties in this country. We talk about the split screen in here very often. On this issue, with regard to reducing fraud, waste, and abuse in government, look, America is the greatest nation in the history of the world. We're the most powerful, most successful, most free, most benevolent nation that's ever been. Part of our benevolence, part of the spirit of America is that we do have these safety net programs. We support that. We have an extraordinary cabinet, like Brooke Rollins here, Secretary Rollins, who is handling and administrating the SNAP program is a good example of that. Medicaid is a good example. Why were they designed and why are they so important and why do we all support those ideas? Because sometimes people really can't take care of themselves. You know, you have the elderly, the disabled, young pregnant women, for example, who are single and they're down on their luck and they need some help. SNAP and Medicaid and these other programs were intended to be a temporary safety net to help people to get back on their feet, but they have been abused. And there are some big government advocates like the Marxists, like the socialists, who want the government to take over everything and supply everything for everybody, but guess what? If the government can give you everything, it can take it away as well, and your freedom is sacrificed. Socialism, don't get me started, has been a great scourge on humanity. I mean, the tens of millions of innocent people in the 20th century alone have died because of it. America stands for something better than that, something different. But the programs don't work if they're loaded down with fraud and abuse. And every single person in this room and every American of common sense should understand the necessity of having people in office, a president in the White House, a cabinet full of secretaries who are dedicated to this in every division of the federal government, and Republicans in Congress leading on this, to root out that fraud, waste, and abuse so the programs can survive. We did that in the One Big Beautiful Bill, in the Working Families Tax Cut. With Medicaid, we went into that and we eliminated the fraud, waste, and abuse. We got able-bodied young men without dependents off the program. They were never intended to be there. They're sitting around on their couches playing video games. Yes, that's an actual study, and they're siphoning the resources away from elderly people, disabled people, and young women who desperately need it. And so the funds were being depleted. We shouldn't go for that. And illegal aliens were never intended to be on any of these programs. They're for U.S. citizens only, law-abiding citizens. This is the team. The Republicans will fix that and save those programs for the country. And the Democrats will continue to abuse it. They sued the USDA for simply asking them to tell them how many illegal aliens are on the programs in California and New York and these other states. They sued them. You need to take account of what people are doing here in each party. The leaders and the President of the United States, we are trying to get government to work more efficiently and effectively for the people, and we are getting stopped and hindered by political games by Democrats. And that's why we're so frustrated. It's got to come to an end. Thank you all for being here this morning.
Thank you, everyone.
And we'll take a quick break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Back here now on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, the FBI says that thwarted terrorist attack in the Detroit area was stopped here. Let's go to a live press conference now out of Detroit. Here is Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We listen in live.
Also know that the people who come to us for help are aspirational, and they use the resources they have to bring the success they need in their life. And they cobble together these resources with amazing facility. And it is incredible to see how diligent and how hardworking and how thoughtful the people are that come for help. It is not easy what they have to manage every day in their life. And if you ask them how they're doing, you know what most of them will tell you? I am blessed. And it's a true feeling. People are amazing. And if you knew them, you would not let them go hungry. For whatever moral reason you might have to not let them go hungry, that's fine. But I mean, just get to know people. And you're going to go, I want that person to be helped because they're an amazing person with an amazing attitude who's managing a lot, and I just want to help. That's the truth. All right. We know the investments we make in our neighbors lift the whole community, not just the people getting help. And so if we want to continue powerful communities that really make a difference and reach the pinnacle of their success, we have to lift the whole community, and these programs do lift the whole community. So what now? Now we're going to hope the government reopens soon. It's what we hoped last week. It's what we hoped in the week before last, and we're still hoping, right? We hope that all federal workers can get paid for their service. We hope that programs like SNAP that lift people to their best success are put back in order. We're doing that now. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep giving that message. In the meantime, we're working on a plan with our partner agencies like the Capuchin Soup Kitchen, the Pantry Soup Kitchen shelters, and others to double our reach during this crisis. We have funding commitments that will help tremendously, including the funding announced by the governor yesterday. And we're watching carefully all the other things that are happening, believe me. We're working with the United Way and many corporate partners who want to be involved if they can do anything to help. And they're providing needed funds and volunteers for this effort that encourage us as we look at this looming issue that's only going to get worse as every day goes by. But to be clear, it will take the whole community doing what they can to get us through this moment. So if you can do one thing, be kind. Check on your neighbors. Make sure the people around you are taken care of. If you can do two things, be generous to the organizations that are doing this work now. Not just food banks, your local pantries. You'll see who they are. Things are happening at the schools. People are starting to mobilize. When you see it happening, if you can do that second thing, be generous and support the work that's going on to get through this moment. And if you can do three things, support anything you can to encourage the reopening of the government. All of this effort is unnecessary, except that it's been made necessary, and so we will do what we have to do. But that's not the best solution. It's not the cheapest solution. It's not the most efficient solution. It's not the solution that's going to reach everybody that needs to be reached. So let's not pretend that no matter how hard we try is enough. That SNAP program helps so many people. It is a massively important program, and we're not going to replace it no matter how hard we try at the food bank level. That doesn't mean we're not going to push hard. We are. And all of our partners are pushing hard, and we will be on the front lines like we always are for the people we serve. But let's get the government open, okay? But be kind. Be kind. Check on your neighbors. So I just want to say thank you for joining us today, and now I will turn the microphone back over to our Attorney General.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Much appreciated. And thanks to the representative for her remarks. Happy to take questions?
Yeah, Clara.
Clara Henderson, Detroit Free Press. Attorney General Nessel, did you have any conversations with Governor Whitmer before the lawsuit was filed? And how did that go? And did you invite her to join as a plaintiff?
Yeah, so my office is always in contact with the EOG, with the governor's office. whenever we file a lawsuit. And generally how it works is I work with my colleague AGs in putting the lawsuit together, and at whatever point we feel like we are pretty sure that we're going to sign on, we contact the governor's office to let the governor's office know about all the details and what assistance we're going to need from various agencies, in this case maybe MDHHS, and then we extend the, I would say, invitation that this case be made State of Michigan as a plaintiff. And of course, in order for it to be State of Michigan, it does require the sign-on of the governor versus the people of the State of Michigan, which that's an indicator that it's the Attorney General bringing the case, but that the governor's office has not signed on. This is a State of Michigan case.
Yeah, Jamal. Mr. Grayson, State Rep Myers Phillips mentioned the governor's emergency announcement of $4.5 million. I understand that has to go to the Food Council of Michigan, Food Bank Council of Michigan. Can you give some context into how that will trickle down and how organizations like Gleaners will prioritize that?
Yeah. So the Food Bank Council is the sort of the trade association for all the food banks in Michigan. There's 7 food banks and there's thousands of pantries.
83 counties.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you're ahead of me. So every county in Michigan is served by a food bank and its partner agencies. So the one of the roles of the Food Bank Council is to be a central repository of funds when they're available, and a lot of the work they do is to pass through funds, either down through federal process or through state process, to food banks. And we actually have a pre-established process in place for how those funds get distributed out. It's called the goal factor, and that's based on how much poverty each food bank is dealing with in the counties they serve. So this process will be similar. Once we know when we're going to get the funds and whatever restrictions are put on the funds, because usually it'll pass through a government agency. We don't have all the details on that now, exactly what that's going to be and what the requirements are going to be, what the reporting is going to be for those funds, but we know that will be coming together soon. Once we get that, we will then know this is how we can leverage those dollars. In the meantime, the food banks are meeting together to talk about the kinds of things we can each do locally to maximize our response. And I think there's even a call at 11 o'clock today to even further hone, here's specifically what we're going to do and how it's going to trickle down. I know for Gleaners specifically, a huge part of our plan is to get more resources to our network. And the reason is because when people need help, the first place they go is to someplace they already know. So if they already know food is being distributed, we want to make sure those places get food, because that's where people are going to show up. So the first line of response is going to be about how do we make sure we're supporting the agencies that are meeting people where they are as they show up, have things in the background to bring to the table if way more people show up than we think, and manage those things on a day in, day out basis. We'll learn more. This is the first time. I've been in this work for 40 years, and this is the first time the SNAP program has not been funded. So we're going to learn some things that we don't know yet about just how many people are coming out and when, and that will continue to form and inform our response.
Thank you. Laura?
Yeah, Lauren Gibbons with Bridge, Michigan. Attorney General, could you explain a little bit more about the logistics of why, even if the contingency funds were released right now, why there would still be a delay in funds here for Michigan?
Yeah, my understanding is there's a delay from the time that USDA gets this over to MDHHS, and then the money is loaded onto the bridge cards. That, generally speaking, that's a staggered process. So it's not like it all happens for everyone who is a SNAP recipient on the same day at the same time. They usually stagger that out. And, there's some complications with that process. 3 days is optimistic. I think that's the shortest period of time. It could actually take a couple weeks, my understanding. I just want to make sure with my staff that I'm not misrepresenting anything, because that is my understanding.
Yeah, DHHS says approximately 3 days from when they receive the money.
Right. I mean, it takes time to get this done, and it just can't be done overnight. And that's why, unfortunately, we really are going to have to, rely on the food banks and the food pantries to cover the time period. even in the event that we are successful in our lawsuit, I anticipate actually that we will be some very favorable remarks from the judge. And I do want to say, because Jerry, you talked about how this has never happened before. And you're right, it has never happened before, including during a shutdown that took place under the last Trump administration, where they used the contingency funds. So again, for the argument to be now, oh, that's not what the contingency funds are there for, that's exactly what they're there for. And I think the administration knows that, and I think that's why the judge was highly skeptical of the arguments being made by the Department of Justice.
Thank you. Julia?
Julia Carney, the Detroit News. Do you expect the reach of the judge's eventual ruling to be affected by the U.S. Supreme Court's earlier decision limiting nationwide injunction? And if so, what do you expect the practical effects of that earlier decision to be on the applicability and the reach of this judge's ruling?
So that's a great question. And what you're talking about is the CASA case, which was actually about birthright citizenship, but it was not heard on the merits of the case before the United States Supreme Court. It was heard on the issue of national injunctive relief. And what the court really said is that if you are not a plaintiff in the case, then you are not eligible for the relief that's granted. So theoretically, if you have 23 state attorneys general plus 3 additional states that don't have Democratic AGs but have a Democratic governor, and that's Kansas, Kentucky, and Pennsylvania. Those are all the states that are participants in this lawsuit. Theoretically, what could happen is that for that money, it only gets distributed to those, 23 states plus 3, 26 states in total, and not to the remaining 24 states. However, I don't think that the Trump administration will do that. What they'll probably do is they'll just distribute it, to all 50 states, possibly on a pro rata basis. We've seen this happen before when you have just the states with Democratic AGs bring a case, and we're successful. And then rather than allow, whether it's, grant funding or whether it's programming or whatever it is, rather than allow that just to go to the states with Democratic AGs, they end up kind of just folding and providing it to all 50 states for political reasons I'm sure you can understand and imagine.
I'm sorry, Damon Fernandez from Local 4 News here in Detroit. Quick question for you, Attorney General Grassley. Since you mentioned retail theft, I know there have been some discussions across social media. We have not been able to verify them here locally, but are you aware of any retailers across the state who've expressed concern about SNAP cutoffs going into November and announcing that they may be limiting their store operation hours or bringing in extra security because of this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know we have some DPD officers here today. I don't know if they have heard anything related to that. I have not heard that from the retailers. I am just this is based on my concerns and my fears that people will become desperate when they don't have any food to eat. And we know when that happens that retail crimes, retail fraud crimes rise. And so, while I certainly hope that doesn't happen, and I certainly hope that we're able to sort of fill the gap so that people don't feel as though they're so desperate that they actually have to commit crimes in order to feed themselves and their family members, it would stand to reason that that is a potential outcome, and it's an outcome that nobody wants to see happen. In fact, I was just reading again today about how all sorts of criminal activity has decreased markedly, and that even people's perception, people understand and they see the dramatic decrease in crime. Certainly, we don't want this, government shutdown to be responsible for crime increasing. But I do want to say, with all due respect, Jerry, I stand with the United States Senate Democrats who are holding out because they don't want tens of millions of people to lose their health care. And, this is a terrible choice. to be made, and it's not just that, it's a false choice to say that we can't afford to have ACA subsidies, which are badly needed so that people don't have their health care premiums double or even triple, and feeding people who are SNAP recipients. We can do both. If we can give, $40 billion to Argentina, or if we can afford $300 million for a new ballroom at the White House, and money, the exorbitant amount of money, frankly, that's being spent on ICE right now, so that we can deport people whose only crime is that they don't have legal resident status. I mean, if you have to choose between those things, can we not both choose to feed hungry people and make sure that working class people can afford their health insurance? In one of the richest nations in the world, I don't think that's too much to ask for.
Going back to Lauren here.
Lauren Gibbons with Bridge again. I have a question for the representative, actually. So the USDA has said they wouldn't reimburse states for any funds covering SNAP benefits, and a lot of experts at the national level say states don't really have the funding to continue this long term. And I'm curious, as you were putting together your proposal, how long would that actually cover SNAP benefits, and also, is it realistic for the state to step in here?
Yes, that's an excellent question. And, leading into your question, I want to emphasize that, nobody wanted to be here. House Democrats don't want to be here. The public we don't want to be here. Our system was not designed for us to be here. As the Attorney General highlighted, we have a backup plan at the federal level. We should not be here. This is unprecedented cruelty. So we shouldn't be here. But considering that we have a responsibility. I believe we have a moral responsibility to put the best interests of our constituents and the people of Michigan first. And if you cannot eat, there's not too much else you can do after that successfully. So my bill will provide benefits until the end of the year. It is a temporary fix. The amount of federal dollars that come into the state to support SNAP at this time, cannot be replaced with state dollars, and we shouldn't be in that position. But again, since we're here, while our Attorney General is litigating, while our congressional representatives are fighting, as I stated earlier, I cannot, in good conscience, not as a mother, not as a community member, not as a person of faith, just kind of do this and say, we just have to see how it plays out. So my bill looks at lapsed work project funds, or basically project money that wasn't spent last year, and I believe that's the same mechanism for the Senate bill. We have a rainy day fund. So is the situation ideal? No, it is not. But being able to tap into the resources that are available for the state of Michigan, because we have been good stewards and is there. In this time of crisis, in this time of emergency, if this is not an emergency, if it's not a public health emergency, I don't know what is. So I do acknowledge it is not a long-term fix, and it shouldn't be. That's why all of us are coming together, doing all we can to pressure our colleagues, our Republican colleagues, to do what they were elected to do, which is take care of the people. And I want to reframe that a little bit, because it's not charity. SNAP is not charity. Our tax dollars pay for SNAP. It's our money. It belongs to us, and the laws dictate that it goes to our most vulnerable community members. So SNAP is not charity. It's our right. It is the law. And while this unprecedented process, Brother Jerry mentioned, I just want to make it Brother Jerry.
It's the cookies.
Jerry
the cookies are shaped.
It's your kind heart. It's your kind heart. Jerry from Gleaner remarked that this hasn't happened in 40 years. Okay, but we are here, and we have a choice as lawmakers. We can wait it out and just see what happens. If we do that, people starve. People get sick. Some of our most vulnerable, they may die. Or we look at the money that we do have in reserve, and we act now. And I believe that's what we have to do. Not ideal, but the other choice to me is unconscionable.
Coming back to Clara, and then I got time for 2 more.
Claire, I'm Cindy Trick, Free Press. Another question for the representative. Do you think the Whitmer administration's move to direct $4.5 million to the Food Council is sufficient to blunt the impact of the SNAP pause? And have you heard anything from the governor about whether she wants to see a supplemental spending measure going on fast?
Yes. Well, I don't think anybody, and I want to be careful. I can't speak for the governor. I can't do that. That wouldn't be appropriate. But there are limits to what the executive office can just do without legislative action. So I'm grateful for the $4.5 million that's coming. I'm so grateful. Every dollar makes a difference, whether that's from the state, whether that's from charitable donations, whether that's neighbor to neighbor, just kind of looking out for each other. So I'm grateful for that. And I hope that this shutdown ends and we don't have to keep digging in further. But if it doesn't, and we always have to think in terms of, we can't just think 5 minutes in front of us. We have to be more responsible and more compassionate than that. So if this does continue to drag on, then no, that would not be enough. But within, what we want executives to do, because there are checks and balances, that is a much, much needed infusion of resources.
Right, yeah, Chancellor.
The Attorney General, give me comments on the FBI raids today in Dearborn and Easter. Did they let you know that they were coming?
We've been in consultation with the FBI in regard to this matter, and while I can't speak publicly to the details of it, I can just say that I'm very, very grateful for the FBI's work in protecting the community and keeping people safe, and I'm sure we'll learn more about the details publicly later, but I'm thankful for their good work.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us here today. I do appreciate you coming out. I have been told there's a truck coming this way through these doors at 11 o'clock.
All right, you were listening into officials out of Michigan discussing the assistance for food being halted if this continues, this government shutdown continues starting tomorrow. So this is the last day a decision could be made. But of course, Senate, to my knowledge, is out of session. And so it doesn't look like we're going to get any headway made and that this SNAP benefit cut is going to go through. Of course, multiple states, including North Carolina, have sued the federal government to try and get access to some of these funds that are put away that other government officials say is used for only natural disasters. Meanwhile, some of these states are saying this is as much of an emergency as it gets. So, of course, we have a reporter working on the impacts of that here locally, as we have the last couple of days, and we'll have more for you coming up at 4, 5, and 6. But for now,